The Saga of Ragnar Loðbrok, Chapter 17. Then they discussed the matter between the two of them, and Ivar swore him an oath that he would not strike against him and not conspire to cause him harm, and he should have as much of England as an ox hide could cover, the largest he might find. Then Ivar took a hide from an old bull, and he had it softened, and then he had it stretched 3 times. Then he cut all asunder into strips as narrowly as possible, and then he let them be split in half between the hair and the flesh. And when this was done, the thong was so long that it was marveled at, as it had not been thought that it might become so large. And then he had it laid around a field, and there was as much space as within a large town, and there he had the foundation marked for the large town wall. And then he had gathered to him many craftsmen, and had many houses raised on that field. And there he had a large town built, and it was called Lundunaburg. It is the largest, most famous of all towns in northern lands. And when he had this town made, he had his movable property sent over. And he was so liberal that he gave with 2 hands, and people thought so much of his wisdom that all sought him to assist their counsels in difficult cases. He so arranged all the cases so that each party thought he got the best of it. And he became so popular so that he had many friends about him. The king took much advice from him, and he arranged the cases so that they did not come before the king. When Ivar had proceeded with his plan until it seemed that peace was guaranteed him, he sent men to find his brothers and tell them that they should send him as much gold and silver as he asked for. And when these men came to find the brothers, they told their errand, and also that they had come of Ivar's plan, namely, that men thought they did not know what was cunning he was preparing. And therefore the brothers thought that he did not have the same position as he was wont to have. Then they sent such goods as he had asked for, and when the goods came to Ivar, he gave all the goods to the strongest men in the land, and stole the troops out from under King Ella. They all said that they would sit quiet, though he might later prepare for a war going. And when Ivar had thus stolen the troops from out under the king, then he sent men to find his brothers, and to say to them that they wanted them to send a levy throughout the lands which their rule stretched over, and they should demand however many men they could get. And when his word sending came to the brothers, they quickly figured out that he most likely thought it was very promising that they might now gain victory. Then they summoned troops from all Denmark and Gotland and all the kingdoms which they had power over, and an innumerable amount was gathered together when the assemblage was complete. They then held course in their ships towards England both night and day, for they wanted to let as little forewarning of their coming to travel before them as possible. Then war tidings were told to King Ella. He summoned his troops, but he gathered few men, because Ivar had stolen many troops out from under him. Then Ivar went and met with King Ella, and said that he wished to carry on that which he had sworn. But I cannot influence my brother's doings. However, I can plan to find them and know if they will stop their army and do no more ill than they have already done. Then Ivar went to meet his brothers and encouraged them greatly to go forth as best they could and let a battle come about as soon as possible, because the king has very few troops. And they answered that he did not need to encourage them, as their intent was the same as before. Then Ivar went and met King Ella and told him they were too eager and enraged to listen to his words. And when I wanted to bring peace between you, they shouted against it. Now I will carry through on my vow that I will not war against you. I will be quiet along with my troops, and the battle with you may go as it will. Then King Ella saw the troops of the brothers, and they came so fiercely that it was wondrous. Then Ivar spoke. Now is the time that you should prepare your troops, King Ella, and I think that they will press against you with a strong onslaught for a while. And as soon as the troops met each other, there was a great battle. And the sons of Ragnar came hard upon the army of King Ella. Their vehemence was so great that their only thoughts were how they might work the most damage, and the war was both long and hard. And the battle ended thus. King Ella and his troops took to flight, but he was seized. Ivar was in nearby, and he said that they should now bring about his life leaving. Now is the time, he said, to remember the manner of death which he inflicted on our father. Now a man who is most skilled in wood carving shall mark an eagle on his back so precisely that the eagle shall redden with his blood. And that man, when he was called to this task, did as Ivar commanded him, and King Ella was in great agony before the task was ended. Then he gave up his life, and it seemed to them that they then had vengeance for their father, Ragnar. Ivar said that he wanted to give them the kingdom that they all held together, and he wished to rule over all of England. And thus ends chapter 17.